The Turnpike Sports Book Report is brought to you by BorgataSports.com. Your favorite casino is now your favorite sportsbook. Available anywhere in New Jersey, BorgataSports.com. Sign up at BorgataSports.com using our promo code PIKE, that's P-I-K-E. Make your first wager of $20 or more and you'll get $100 in free bets. That's $100 in free bets when your first wager on Borgata Sports is $20 or more. Get into the action with BorgataSports.com. Must be 21 years or older and in New Jersey to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And welcome to this week's edition of the Turnpike Sports Book Report, where we're going to be talking about the state and national sports betting reports, about launches, as well as openings for different sports books. We've got legislation. We've got deals to talk about as usual. And as always, it's been a busy week. We even have the upcoming launch in Canada to talk about.
What is it, April 4th? Is that the magic date?
Exactly. But before we get to Canada, we're going to talk a little bit about the United States, and we're going to start with the American Gaming Association is reporting that right now there are 12 of the remaining 17 states that have operational sports betting industries going. 12 now have live legislation in their states that are moving forward to actually launch sports betting.
So according to the American Gaming Association, what's the official numbers? We have how many states that don't have sports betting?
5.
Oh, no. How many states that don't have
legislation?
Sports betting?
You're talking about actually
that just don't have sports betting.
17.
17 states.
12 have active legislation.
Okay.
There are 5 remaining that have no live legislation moving forward.
They just have no plans whatsoever.
No, they don't really
What
care.
are the 5? Did they list the 5?
Yeah, 2 are expected. Utah, Texas.
Okay.
That's kind of expected. Vermont. Even though Vermont did, I think it was not last year, but the year before, did commission a study on sports betting.
Let me tell you something. Vermont is surrounded by sports betting states. Well, except for Maine. I think.
We're going to be talking about Maine,
too. Maine is getting a little closer. But
you just
Vermont,
did a little foreshadowing there. We're going to talk about Maine in a little bit.
All right.
The other 2 states, Idaho and Hawaii.
Okay.
So those 5 states have no active legislation going through.
And have no plans in the foreseeable future.
Hawaii last year, towards the end of the last legislative session, had 6 bills.
Yeah.
And none of them went through.
I always thought Hawaii would be the greatest place for casino resorts. I mean, it's a vacation area anyway, and I think Hawaii would thrive with casino and resorts and things like that.
So. Well, they've got a ton.
Who knew? I don't know.
They've got a ton of golf courses and other types of resorts there. I think they're happy with that.
Hawaii doesn't even have lottery, right?
No, that was one of the bills.
They have
that didn't make it
absolutely
through.
nothing.
No.
Absolutely, they can't even decide on lottery. So I don't think casinos are in the near future.
Well, Utah's the same way; has nothing like that.
Okay.
So, but there are 5 states that have yet to actually launch or even consider filing sports betting legislation, which leads us into some more discussion of what was going on in February. February seems to be what for now is a typical month in the United States sports betting industry. February had what became the 6th, let me get the number, 6th consecutive month the national handle has topped $5 billion.
Yeah.
And this is actually even considered the month where everything is slowed down because between Super Bowl and March Madness and February there's still states that are actually setting some interesting numbers in terms of handle.
Yeah, I know. February seems to be a lull in the sports betting industry. I don't know why. I mean, second week, what was it? February 13th was the Super Bowl. So,
well, again, a lot of people had their sports bets in for January.
I guess so. And a lot better games in January with the NFL playoffs. So I guess
I have to admit,
that drove a lot of betting. But no, I'm very surprised at February. The Super Bowl month is kind of a lull for everything. I know Pennsylvania and Michigan were in the red.
As a matter of fact, yes.
actually lost money.
Michigan had a negative $4.8 million in revenue.
Yeah.
And Pennsylvania came in with a negative $440,000 and some change.
Which I think is their worst month. Revenue-wise?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, that was their worst month.
Wow.
But again, February had is a lull, but January, remember, they had Louisiana and Arizona still. Arizona still has yet to report their January numbers. Okay. So I'm very curious to see what Arizona comes up with. They've been actually doing 2 months at a time.
Okay.
So,
all right.
It's actually kind of interesting that even though the handle has been going up in terms of February, we're seeing a lot of revenue being down. And we're still setting the consistent $5 billion handle mark. In terms of overall, listen to this number, and I got to thank Chris Altruda again from US Bets for throwing this number out there. The $42 billion bet since September 2001 is more than the amount bet between 2018 and 2020.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, $42 billion since September 2021. The 2018 to 2020 was combined $39.3 billion.
Okay.
I mean, it's about $2 billion difference, $3 billion difference.
Well, look,
but that is still a significant leap in terms of the number.
There are so many more
money
states allowing sports betting, so I guess that's what's driving the number there. So.
Yes. Well, as we're taping this, we're awaiting this current week's New York numbers, but I think it's safe
which will
to
be
say,
phenomenal.
Yes.
Again,
I think it's safe to say that by the end of this 11th week of operation, New York should have over $4 billion in handle.
Yeah.
For that. At the week ending March 13th, they were at $3.9 billion.
Okay.
So they were only short money away from passing the $4 billion mark anyway. So I think we're safe in saying that the market has surpassed the $4 billion mark in 11 weeks.
Yeah.
DraftKings also was only $50 million away from the $1 billion club. So I'm going to make the assumption that DraftKings became the third operator to surpass the $1 billion mark. We have FanDuel, Caesars, and possibly DraftKings. I'm hedging that right now, but it should be those three as $1 billion handles since launch in New York.
New York is an interesting state. I'm sure you're aware the decision came down making fantasy sports legal, and everyone's like thinking, they're still litigating fantasy sports in New York. I mean, the same operators are taking sports bets, and they're still litigating fantasy sports. So, but a big case came down, and New York's highest court said, fantasy sports game of skill, and it's legal now. So just wanted to throw that in. I found it incredible that they're still talking about fantasy sports being legal or illegal in New York.
It does affect two of the operators in New York, DraftKings and FanDuel.
Sure.
And I think overall, bottom line, the ruling is going to help them. Yes, they're going to have more and more business coming in.
Of course, it's going to help.
I think also it's going to ripple down through the other states that are having the same kind of question.
Yeah, well, I think it's just incredible that they're still talking about the legality of fantasy sports, and the same operators are legal sports betting book operators in New York. So I think it's, I got to be honest with you. When I saw the ruling, I just remember, this case is still going on. I forgot all about it. So okay.
I honestly think we may see it continue to go on for a while. I mean, you're
going
to see
not
something,
New York,
not New York, but I'm talking about that argument back and forth. Before we get away with the, we started off this segment here with the American Gaming Association. I'm going to at least announce this one, the USFL.
Yes.
Constantly in the news now. They have joined the American Gaming Association's Have a Game Plan Bet Responsibly program.
Good.
You're going to be seeing promos, announcements, that sort of social media by the league in terms of the bet responsible gaming.
I really can't wait for the USFL. I'm very curious. It's kind of like a kind of trip down memory lane for me. I love them in the 80s, and so I'd be very curious to see. I'm also curious to see the level of football being played. I'm curious how good the football product is going to be. So
as long as it's better than what we've seen in the other spring leagues so far. I mean, the awful AAFL, if you want to call it that. It was good football, decent football, not really that great.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm sure the USFL is going to get a lot of people tuning in because of the reason I just said. They kind of grew up with it.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of I guess 3 or 4 years in the 80s, and it was fun to watch.
This is almost like the nostalgia.
Oh yeah, no, I can't wait.
I mean, I guess when the XFL relaunches, it's going to have some impact with people who saw the original one.
I still have, like I said, I still have T-shirts for the Jersey Generals, and I have a sweatshirt for the Jersey Generals.
Yeah.
So,
and
I got to break those out.
I'm just glad they included them in, the
all
league.
most of the original teams.
Not all of them. Not all of them.
I don't know. The LA Express, I don't think.
There's only 8 teams, and none of them are on the West Coast. There's Michigan Panthers are back.
Michigan Panthers, yeah.
Birmingham Stallions.
Yeah.
I don't know
Houston
about Memphis
Gamblers?
Houston Gamblers.
Okay, all right.
Jersey Generals, Philadelphia Stars.
The Breakers. But when the USFL started, the Breakers were
Boston Breakers.
Boston, then New England, and then they went to New Orleans.
New Orleans Breakers.
Yeah.
Name didn't really fit back down there, but I guess
they still have the Washington Federals.
I don't know if they're
that
part
was
of the new,
Craig James. He was running back for Washington Federals. So I'm very interested to see it.
It's going to be kind of fun to watch that.
Yeah.
So as we're moving from the United States, let's talk about Canada because we got their launch coming up. We might as well talk
April 4th, right?
Talk about this launch. They've got about 30 operators.
Okay.
All
jumping on
all
April
approved,
4th?
All approved.
Oh, okay.
Well, these are private operators.
Okay.
The lotteries in the provinces are already up and running, and they're doing extremely well with the single event sports betting.
Okay.
This is the private operator launch. We've got about 30 operators, like I said.
Okay.
BetMGM just got approval. The Score Bet, PointsBet Canada. There's a few of them that are actually allowing you to pre-register, and they're getting some good responses. No exact numbers yet, but if you look at some of the stores, and I think a couple of people tweeted this out, Ryan Butler and a few other people tweeted out the numbers, that I think a couple of them are already number 1 and number 2 in downloads in the stores.
Oh, okay.
For Canada. Good. And I want to thank those guys for putting that information out there as well.
Great.
But like I said, we have Canada launching. One of the big news stories that came out of there, we actually got 2.
Okay.
Kambi. Kambi is the platform provider for sportsbooks.
Yeah.
They are the first sportsbook provider to be licensed by the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario. They are the first provider, so that's a brand new category that was given permission to launch on April 4th. The other deal that happened was PointsBet Canada and the Canadian Football League team, the Ottawa Redblacks.
What an awful name. Redblacks? What's that?
I have to go take a look.
I don't even know what that means.
It's,
weren't the Ottawa Rough Riders? Wasn't that?
I think they changed the name because there was 2 Rough Riders.
Yeah, Calgary Rough Riders.
Yes, there were 2 Rough Riders. Now there's a Redblack.
Redblack.
But PointsBet Canada.
I don't know what a Redblack is. Is that a
this uniform?
Oh, Redblack.
Yes.
Very creative.
Yes. not their uniform, but the uniform of the Rough Rider.
Oh, okay.
The colors.
Okay.
Yeah. PointsBet Canada, Ottawa Redblacks, and TD Place, which is the home of the Ottawa Redblacks.
Okay, Redblacks.
Have all done a deal.
I can't get over that name, though.
Oh, no.
Why didn't they just do a contest so the fans can rename it and figure out the best name? They did.
I don't know how the CFL did this.
They looked down at their shirt and they said Redblacks.
I guess.
Okay.
But you're going to be seeing PointsBet Canada logos all over the Redblack jerseys.
Okay.
You're going to see PointsBet Canada all over the TD Place stadium where they play.
It goes well with PointsBet because aren't their colors red and black?
Well, I
think it's perfect.
I think that's kind of why that deal was kind of
made. Yeah, really?
I mean, I don't want to speak for PointsBet, but if it's a perfect color match, they don't have to change their logos. They're not going to. They're actually going to.
We picked the team because of the color.
Blend in.
Yeah. Okay.
So
their patches are going to look great if they're going to have patches on them.
So and also they're going to be the presenting sponsor of one of the lounges.
Okay.
In TD, I don't want to call it TD Park. TD Place.
TD Place.
That's their stadium.
All right.
So we got some interesting deals coming up. I'm very curious to see this launch on April 4th because it almost sounds like it's going to be a shotgun launch.
Yeah.
Everyone's just going to hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be fun to see exactly where the industry goes with the private operators. I think they're Ontario is probably going to be the center of everything for the entire country there.
Yeah, no, April 4th is going to be crazy. It's going to be a great day in Canada.
But the Red Blacks are the very first CFL team to do a sports betting deal.
Okay.
So a little history made for that, history made for Canby. Good luck, Canada. It's going to be fun.
Yep.
Going back into the United States, DraftKings had a whole bunch of announcements regarding sportsbook openings.
Okay.
Just go through some of these right here. DraftKings opened a temporary sportsbook at Hollywood Casino, Baton Rouge.
All right.
Permanent book is expected to open in 2023. The reason they didn't do a permanent book right now is the casino is being moved on land. It's a riverboat casino.
Oh, it's a riverboat. Okay.
They're doing a land facility.
Okay, that's good.
And this announcement comes 2 years after they announced that deal.
Yeah, I've never been on a riverboat casino. I wonder.
They don't really go in the river anymore. They're just docked.
Oh, they're just docked?
They're docked.
Okay.
They're docked. So they're actually moving it into a land-based facility. Also, DraftKings announced that they will unveil a new 6,000 square foot state-of-the-art permanent retail book at the DraftKings at Casino Queen site.
All right.
That was one where they actually rebranded the casino. The casino just used to be called Casino Queen.
Okay.
Now it's DraftKings at Casino Queen. DraftKings has their name on a casino.
Yeah, that's important.
Which is pretty cool.
Yep.
And some updates in terms of the retail book in Chicago. DraftKings retail book is now under construction at Wrigley Field.
Okay.
It's going to be...
Now, is it going to be outside of the stadium, or can you get to it when you're inside the stadium?
Well, according to the restrictions imposed by the league, there will not be direct access to the stadium.
Okay. All right.
But it will be a 3-story structure.
Wow. I mean, will it be connected, or it can't be connected? Or
it's connected to the stadium.
You just can't get into it if
Right.
you're inside the stadium.
They're going to have a modern, here's the description, a modern state-of-the-art sportsbook facility with a rooftop open deck area.
Oh, that's nice.
But no direct access into the stadium itself.
It's 3 stories, right? And they
Yes.
have I wonder if you can actually see the game. You know?
I would assume that's
I know,
the reason for the open deck
that'd be
rooftop
pretty cool.
area, because they're not allowed to get into the stadium from the...
Interesting.
So,
okay.
That may be a little way they got around.
We don't know that
access.
for sure,
No,
but that would be interesting to see. I mean, if you can watch the game. I know the big thing in Chicago is, they have those, the apartments and across the street, and that seem like you can see into the stadium. I wonder if, the sportsbook will have that. We'll see, I guess.
Well, again...
They should keep us in suspense.
This will be open, they're hoping, by the 2023 season.
Okay.
And the reason they didn't start construction just yet, they had just received a couple of months ago permission from the Chicago City Council that allowed them to do this, because they had to get, it was a historic landmark situation.
Sure. Yeah.
So they had to wait for that ruling to come through. Now, we had talked
earlier.
earlier.
That's going to be a fun sports book to visit.
Yes.
I'd say, especially on game day. Oh, it's going to be great.
See, I'm going to be torn. Do I want to go to Wrigley Field, or I want to go to the sportsbook now?
See,
I'm definitely going to want to go to
Well,
Wrigley
look,
Field
in New York, they have legislation where they want to put like sports books in Yankee Stadium and Citi Field, and I think they're going to take a look at how Chicago handles it and see what the situation in Chicago, and maybe that might, kind of move the legislation along in New York.
Hey, New York is already looking to expand the online sports betting market already.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
They're
looking
doing
for 3 casinos in the Manhattan area,
and they just raised the license price for those.
Yeah.
They're now looking at $1 billion license to get a Manhattan casino. So
and they just decided on fantasy sports. How about that,
Yeah.
New York?
I'm waiting to see a fantasy sports bar.
I don't know. That's interesting.
Because you got sports betting bars.
That's an interesting concept. I don't know.
I mean, it's a way for DraftKings and FanDuel to even get additional revenue, because sometimes sports bettors and fantasy sports, I know they overlap constantly.
Sure.
But I wonder if there's a chance for a fantasy sports betting themed bar.
Well, that'd be interesting.
We had talked about Massachusetts or Vermont being surrounded by sports betting at the top of the show here. One piece of legislation I just want to hit before we move on to some of the deals. In Maine.
Okay, Maine, yeah, you said you were going to bring that up.
There's a new sports betting bill that's making its way through the legislature. It's a compromise bill.
Okay.
Because a while ago, it was released that the governor's office had a sports betting bill that was going to focus on giving, well, basically a monopoly on mobile sports betting and the sports betting industry to the tribes.
Okay.
The Wabanakis.
Okay.
To be specific here. There's a compromise bill that is going to give the tribe exclusive rights to the mobile sports gambling market in the state.
Okay.
As well as giving Maine's 2 casinos, both owned by out-of-state companies, an opportunity to get into the sports betting market as well. Under the terms of the bill, you've got the Oxford Casino up in Oxford, Maine. They would get on-site sports gambling.
All right. Retail only?
Retail and mobile.
Oh, okay. Retail and mobile.
Hollywood Casino sports gambling would be located at its raceway.
Okay.
The way it's going to be split up, the tribes will get 50% of the revenue. The sports betting operator would get 40%, and then the state would get 10%.
Oh, okay. It sounds like a good compromise. Anyone mad about that?
Yeah, a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's opposition.
All right. Well,
as usual.
There's always opposition.
It's New England. There's opposition to sports betting everywhere. Yeah. Staying in New England a little bit before we even talk about some of the deals, we have Churchill Downs buying a charity poker room to bring in some historical horse racing machines.
Okay.
I think it's Chaser's Poker Room in New Hampshire.
I have no idea what that is.
So it's kind of interesting to watch Churchill Downs make another move into another market for historical horse racing. They currently have 3 other spots, Kentucky, where they're operating, and they have pending deals in Virginia, Louisiana. Okay. So New Hampshire's kind of a odd duck.
Yeah, well, it's the farthest north.
Yeah.
It's an interesting market.
And last but not least, we're going to just talk some quick deals here. The big one, we'll probably spend more time on this than any of the other ones, Rush Street Interactive. Okay. Another deal with Rush Street Interactive. This isn't a brand ambassadorship kind of deal. This is a content deal with Mike Francesa.
I heard about this. Yeah, he's going to do a podcast.
Yes,
right?
He's going to be doing a lot with them.
That's great. It's he's a legend in radio, so can't wait to hear it.
This is one of the few deals I've seen Rush Street make for both brands. This is for Bet Rivers and Play Sugar House.
Okay,
he's going to be doing a twice weekly podcast.
Okay.
Is he still doing his other podcast? I don't remember if he is or isn't.
I don't know. I don't think
I kind of
so.
lost track of him after a while.
Yeah, I was curious to see. I heard he was going to do this podcast. I didn't know how often he would do it.
Twice weekly.
It's twice weekly, okay.
And this actually helps him because I know he still has a huge following in New Jersey, New York.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And even Connecticut.
Absolutely.
I remember I grew up listening to Mike and the Mad Dog.
Oh, yeah.
Saw that split. Then I saw for the Francesa show on WFAN. And then he left WFAN to do his podcasting setup. And honestly, I feel bad because I lost track of what he was doing.
Now, will they keep the Mike's On theme song?
I don't know. That was one of the better theme songs for a show. I wish we could hire somebody to come up with one for us.
Yeah.
But
had I known you were going to do this story, I would have grabbed the Mike's On theme song. I would have played it.
Well, again, that may be owned by something else.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
But again, the deal is the Francesa will provide exclusive network and social media content for both brands. Twice weekly podcast series, series of digital videos that will be on both platforms.
Okay.
So I'm assuming, I know Rush Street does those city casts.
Yes, yeah, they do a betting show in each major city.
For each major city, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it's going to be part of that whole lineup of content stuff. They're also going to be having Francesa do appearances at sporting events.
Great.
And he's going to be doing video content at those appearances, not just by himself, but with the fans as well.
Great. Good.
So I'm going to be very curious to see exactly how the fans interact with him.
Oh no, I can't wait. He's a guy who we grew up with and listening to on the radio. So and anytime he's on the radio, I'll
give him a listen because he's got such a distinctive voice.
Yeah.
And some of his opinions are very interesting in terms of especially the Giants and the Jets.
He's a big horse racing guy. I think he owns horses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Last deal for the day. Potawatomi Hotel and Casino announced a multi-year partnership with the Milwaukee Brewers.
Okay.
Deal will see the Potawatomi become the exclusive casino partner of the Brewers. There's going to be a Potawatomi branded entrance at the right field side of American Family Field. And it's actually an extension.
I can't wait to see their sign at the stadium because I don't think I've ever seen it spelled out.
Potawatomi?
Potawatomi.
It's one of the more fun casino names to say.
Right, Potawatomi. I love that. I love the name.
So that's it for this week's Turnpike Sports Book Report. Please keep those press releases coming in. info@turnpikesportsradio.com. If you've been following along on the television side, you will see a lot more news stories scrolling along the bottom. We've even got the print version coming out after this show publishes. Head on over to turnpikesportsradio.com and click on the blog button, and you'll see a full-blown print version of the book report covering the stories we just talked about, as well as stories we didn't have time to talk about in the half hour or so that we do this segment.
And that'll do it for us this week. We'll see you next time on the Turnpike.